In the summer of 2002, a man in Crofton, Maryland, drained a small backyard pond. He had bought 2 fish from a local Asian food market 2 years earlier, kept them as pets, and then changed his mind. He did what many people do. He dumped them outside. What officials found when they investigated that drainage ditch would trigger one of the most aggressive emergency responses in American wildlife history. This is the story of the Northern Snakehead, a fish that breathes air, walks on land, and turned Florida and Maryland into ground zero for a new kind of ecological war. The snakehead is not one species, but a family, Chanidae, native to parts of Asia and Africa. The northern snakehead, Channa argus, comes from China, Russia, and Korea, where it has been a food fish for centuries. It was imported into the United States through the live seafood trade. Asian markets sold them live because freshness mattered, and a fish that could survive in a bucket with minimal water was a seller's dream. Federal records show snakeheads were legally imported throughout the 1990s. Nobody thought much about it. A fish was a fish. Customs agents were not trained to flag it. Aquarium hobbyists ordered it online. Restaurant owners kept tanks of them near the front door. The fish moved through American commerce the way thousands of other exotic species do, quietly, legally, and without consequence, right up until the moment it wasn't. The first confirmed Florida sighting came in Broward County in 2000. A wildlife officer pulled a snakehead from a canal and brought it to a biologist, who identified it and reportedly said very little for a long moment. 2 years later, the Crofton incident pushed the story onto front pages nationwide. The Washington Post ran photographs. Television news showed wildlife officers in waders standing in that drained Maryland pond, surrounded by dead fish. The image was striking. The science behind it was more striking still. When Maryland wildlife officials confirmed what was in that drainage ditch, they did not treat it as a nuisance. They treated it as a crisis. The reason comes down to biology, and the biology of the snakehead is genuinely alarming once you understand the full picture. The northern snakehead possesses a suprabranchial organ, a primitive air-breathing structure that sits above the gills. It functions like a crude lung. The fish surfaces every few minutes to gulp atmospheric air, which means it can survive in stagnant, oxygen-depleted water, where almost nothing else can live. That alone would make it a formidable competitor. But the snakehead goes further. It can survive entirely out of water for several days, provided conditions are moist enough. It does not walk the way a land animal walks, but it uses its pectoral fins and a muscular body to wriggle and lurch across wet grass, mud, and shallow ground. It moves between water bodies under its own power. It finds the next pond. It finds the next lake, it finds the next river, and then it starts eating. The snakehead is an apex predator with no natural enemies in American waters. In its native range, larger predators keep its population in check. In the United States, nothing does. It eats fish, frogs, crayfish, small birds near the water's edge, and small mammals. It is not selective. Juvenile snakeheads begin hunting almost immediately after hatching, and adults are aggressive defenders of their young, which is rare among fish and makes population control significantly harder. Adult snakeheads have been observed chasing and attacking animals many times their size when guarding a nest. In waters where snakeheads establish themselves, researchers have documented severe and rapid declines in native fish populations. The snakehead does not share a food chain. It dismantles one. To be honest, what struck me most when I first read about this was not the biology, it was the government response. It was not cautious or measured or phased across several budget cycles. It was scorched earth, and it happened fast. When Maryland confirmed a reproducing snakehead population in that Crofton pond in 2002, state and federal officials made a decision within weeks. They poisoned the entire water body with rotenone, a naturally derived pesticide, a fish-killing chemical that strips oxygen from aquatic organisms. Then they poisoned it again. Then they drained it. Every fish in that pond, native or invasive, died. Officials stated clearly that the presence of a single confirmed snakehead justified the complete destruction of the entire ecosystem of that water body. No exceptions, no second opinions, no waiting to see what happened next. Florida presented a fundamentally harder problem. Snakeheads were confirmed in Broward County canals in 2000, 2 years before the Maryland incident became national news. The canal system in South Florida is vast and deeply connected, running through neighborhoods, parks, golf courses, and agricultural land for hundreds of miles. Poisoning and draining the entire network was not feasible or even remotely possible. Florida fish and wildlife managers shifted strategy. They encouraged anglers to catch and kill snakeheads on site, and they were explicit that no permit was required to do so. They ran public education campaigns with photographs distributed to bait shops and fishing piers. They listed the Northern Snakehead as a prohibited species under Florida law, making it illegal to possess or transport a live one anywhere in the state. The message was clear and direct. If you see one, kill it. Do not release it. Do not keep it. Do not move it. Congress acted in 2002 as well, passing legislation that added snakeheads to the federal injurious wildlife list under the Lacey Act. Importation and interstate transport of live snakeheads became a federal crime. Violators faced fines and potential imprisonment. Federal funding went toward monitoring programs in affected states. The response, measured in policy terms, was unusually swift, but by then, the fish was already here, and it was already moving. Today, established snakehead populations exist in Florida, Maryland, Virginia, New York, Arkansas, North Carolina, and several other states. Researchers continue to monitor range expansion using environmental DNA sampling, a technique that detects trace genetic material left in water to track where the fish is spreading before populations become visible. Eradication in large, connected waterways has proven effectively impossible. The fish is too adaptable, too mobile, and too prolific. A single female can produce up to 50,000 eggs per year, and she may spawn multiple times in a single season. Some wildlife managers have quietly shifted the official goal from elimination to containment, acknowledging what the biology already made obvious years ago. Here is the part most people do not know. The snakehead has found a second life in American sport fishing culture. In the mid-Atlantic states, anglers actively target them. Tournament fishing events dedicated to snakeheads have been organized in Virginia and Maryland. Fishing guides advertise snakehead trips. The fish fights hard, grows large, and is reportedly excellent table fare. The same qualities that make it an ecological nightmare, its aggression, its size, its willingness to strike, make it a compelling catch. The government said, kill them. The fishing community said gladly and started charging for the experience. There is a postscript to the Crofton story worth sitting with. After officials drained and treated that backyard pond, they found dozens of snakeheads. The man who released them received a fine and a warning. The fish received no such limits. Somewhere in a South Florida canal tonight, a snakehead surfaces to breathe. It pulls air into that ancient chamber above its gills, the same air everyone in that neighborhood is breathing. Then it sinks back down and keeps hunting. The summer of 2002 feels very far away. The fish does not know that.